My name is Usman. I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and then currently I'm a COO for a small seed startup.
Amazing. Cool. Operations. So let's talk through, if you wouldn't mind kind of setting the stage, where were you in your career search before you came into CareerAmp? So kind of what was happening?
Yeah, so prior to CareerAmp, right before I joined CareerAmp, I was about to make my exit at a prior startup that had been acquired, and I was the COO there before we got acquired. And I was in the process of wanting to get back into, a smaller scale startup, something that felt more aligned with what my career aspirations were. So I was about to make the exit there when I joined and started CareerAmp.
Got it. Got it. So you're about ready to make a change. And talk to me like what was, as you were thinking about making a change and you were looking maybe for some help for a coaching partner and evaluating different options out there, what was important to you at a meta level about finding a coaching partner?
Yeah, I think for me, it was more so somebody that one understood what I was looking for, and was willing to work with me more on a one-on-one basis, right? Like I think just like in leadership, I don't think it's one size fits all. And a lot of the other things that I was looking at was, like I would get assigned to somebody and it was kind of going to be one size fits all. And I was looking for something that was going to be more specific and someone I could work on and work with if I had specific needs for what I was looking for.
Cool. Yep, it's important to get the one-on-one help. Great. And so then you hopped inside CareerAmp, which we're glad that you did. But talk to me like once you joined CareerAmp, maybe in the first couple of weeks, like what was your first aha moment or maybe small win that you noticed off the bat?
I think one of the first ones was doing the source stories. Having been on the other side of interviewing people at my prior startup where I was trying to build my team out, it was very eye-opening just on how to deliver a good answer to a question and not just like keeping it at that high level, right? Like really diving into the source stories, I think was one of my first ones. It opened my own, like I've done some really cool things, but how do I explain it? And I think that was one of like the most exciting exercises I think I did through the first few weeks.
For sure. Yeah. Source stories is like one of my favorite things to do. It's a great way to talk about what you've done substantially, but also quantitatively and to kind of help build a story. So I'm glad that you found value in that. Maybe it'll help you out too when you hire folks in your new
Yeah.
gig, things to look for. Great. And then two other questions here. What would you consider your biggest win going through the program? Obviously you're starting a new gig as COO, but so would you consider it that, or would you consider it something else along the way?
So the side door method for me was unique because I was trying to stay in the startup space, and so I used it but tweaked it to I modified it to meet my needs. Where I started reaching out to a lot of the VCs using the side door method, not like reaching out to people that like positions I wanted to go. I know that's like the original side door method, but for me it was really helpful. I mean, it's always like hindsight; you don't know what the bigger plan at play is by the universe, but I made a lot of really good connections with some really cool principals, partners at VCs that now I'm able to use as we're about to raise capital for this new startup that I'm able to go back to and say, hey, like I know you and I just chatted, like, and I think that was the biggest moment for me was using that methodology of like, hey, just constantly reaching out to people, but like not, and I think one of the things I like was not like point blank asking for something. It was like, I just want to interact. I want to network with you. Right. And if it leads to something great, one, it takes the pressure off of the conversation. And two, you never know, like maybe they do help you find your next career, or maybe you end up finding something that they can help you with. So that's
Yes.
one of the most, I mean, I honestly just emailed two people today that I actually met through Sidedoor that I was like, hey, starting a new venture, want to send you our pitch deck. Would love to schedule some time to like go through, and see if there's alignment here with your company and ours. So
Amazing. It's amazing. That's so awesome. And yes, we hear that like all the time from folks that like, yes, side door was cool. And I might have modified it a little bit just to kind of get into the door, but then also that it's useful after you get the role, either for something like this, where maybe you're trying to get a round of funding, but also we've heard people who in sales who've, tried to use it afterwards to help get deals done once they've landed a job too. So yeah, it's a multifaceted approach. I'm glad that you found value in that. Cool. All right. Last question, Usman, which is, if someone's watching our conversation right now and maybe they are on the fence on whether or not they want to join CareerAmp, what would you tell them?
I would say 100% do it. Especially, I mean, speaking specifically, if you're trying to stay in like the startup space, that market right now is so flooded with some really good talent. I think technology space in general, right? I mean, it's the unfortunate part of where we are right now, where there's a lot of very talented people out there. So, whatever you can do to set yourself apart, and I think CareerAmp does a really good job of kind of not only giving you those tools, it's also just a good reminder of a lot of the amazing things you might have done in your career and you don't know how to quantify, you don't know how to tell that story. I think CareerAmp helps you be able to get very knowledgeable and confident in sharing that, not only through the interview process, but through side door methodology, having the career coaches as a backup to use. It's an advantage, especially in today's marketplace. I think, it's no longer you apply at mass and you're going to get, I mean, you post one position, there's going to be 1,000 applicants within the first 5 hours, if not sooner. So what can you do to stand out? And I think CareerAmp is one of the things that people can do to really stand out and stand amongst the crowd. So it's great. I'm happy to answer if you ever have anyone that needs, wants to talk to a live, testimonial, but I think what you guys have done and what you're doing is awesome.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that.